Okay. Hi, good morning, Chris. How are things going?
Greetings. I'm thrilled to be here and excited to be part of this event.
Yeah, we are honored to have you. It's fantastic to have you join us today. We have been looking forward to having this conversation. There's a lot of people really psyched when they saw your name on the list of speakers. So just to let you know, some people are here just because of you. No pressure, but yeah.
Oh, goodness.
All right. Okay, so going into this, we will be talking agile in your session. We will be, taking people through the agile journey, as it were. So we have veterans in the agile space on the call, but we also have people who just want to go into the space. So they want to know what exactly is agile. So we know you have tons of experience in this. I mean, your book is literally about this. So tell us a bit about yourself and then tell us about Agile in your own words.
Oh, goodness. So a little bit about me. My professional arc, if you go back far enough, I worked at Burger King, ate a lot of Whoppers. I was a vegetarian at the time. Something about expressing my personal values through my work just hadn't dawned on me yet. I became an auto mechanic, became a professional musician, did that through most of my 20s. Still cannot bring myself to cut the hair, although it's falling out at an alarming rate. So I don't think it's going to be an issue much longer. But somewhere in my late 20s, I realized there was something missing in my life: regular income. And so I went to college and to turn my hobby, which was writing computer programs, into something I can do for a living. Came out of University of Illinois, moved to Silicon Valley. I had a really traditional, typical software developer career, right? It was developer, becomes manager, becomes director, kind of a thing. And right around the turn of the millennium, so 1999, 2000, somewhere in there, I had my first exposure to the stuff that we now call Agile. Now, we didn't have that word yet because the Snowbird Gathering, where the Agile Manifesto was created and the Agile word was selected, wasn't going to happen for another year or so. But I'd run across the work of Kent Beck and Ron Jeffries and Ward Cunningham and some other folks who were doing extreme programming, which is essentially Scrum plus a bunch of technical practices to make it really robust for software development. And I brought that to the team I was working with and the product we were about to build, and it made all the difference, night and day. This team really gelled, became a high-performing team, built an amazing product that all these years later is still part of that company's portfolio of products. And it changed all of our lives. And so that was kind of how I got into it. Fast forward. I started Agile Learning Labs in 2007, and I spend most of my time working with companies that are adopting Agile practices, mostly Scrum and supporting practices like that, or companies that are looking to evolve and improve their Agile practices, and absolutely love it. So that's me.
Great. It's a totally amazing story. A lot of us on the call can relate with it, right? That journey of progression and then getting to that realization and then, doing something about it, making a success of it. So a lot of the folks on this call are kind of somewhere in your journey. So this is us trying to help them along that path, help them understand where they could pitch their tent and do good by doing that. So you did make it sound like Agile was that miraculous recipe that once you brought it into your team, everything became great. Can you tell us in simple terms, what exactly is Agile?
Ooh, that's a loaded question because it depends who you ask. But here's my perspective. Here's what I would say it is. I think, first off, I think of Agile as it's an adjective, right? Or maybe an adverb too, but it's a descriptor. So I think of Agile not as a thing, but as a way of being or a way of doing whatever you do. So there are agile methods and agile practices and agile frameworks and businesses that are more agile or less agile, teams that are more agile or less agile. And I start by thinking of it as just what you think of when you think of the English word agile, right? Fast, flexible, adaptable, right? That's really at the core. And then the next level out, the way we talk about it in, kind of our professional circles, it's working in ways that are aligned with and inspired by the Agile Manifesto. And so you can find this at agilemanifesto.org. It's the document that came out of that gathering of thought leaders all the way back in 2001. So there are 4 values and a handful of principles. But I think the thing that's really important is the essence of it, the spirit of it. And for me, it really comes down to this: working in ways where change is expected. Because I think that one of the ways that we kind of got in trouble in business, especially as the world started changing faster, technology started changing faster, we moved from, manufacturing widgets to creating software, is that the old approach can be summed up as have a great plan, then follow the plan, right? A lot of traditional project management is about, really research everything up front and then create this great plan and then make sure everybody's sticking to the plan. And that works really well in an environment where we can know all the important vital stuff before we begin the work. But for a lot of us, right, especially those of us doing software product development or working in other fast-moving spaces, the fundamental assumption there isn't true. We can't know all of the important things up front. As we do the work, we're going to make important discoveries about how the work should be done. As the product is being built, we're going to be learning more about the customers and the market and the environment. And so our initial idea of what would be the best product to build isn't going to be, correct. We're going to learn new information that's going to change and move the target. And so if we get really attached to the initial plan and try to just stick to the plan, it's not going to go so well. And anyone who's been around software product development, IT, kind of knows, right, in their gut, wow, and we've had big plan-driven projects in the past. Usually they didn't go so well, right? They ran late and there were problems. And it's because we were using an approach that was not appropriate for the domain we were operating in. So an agile approach fundamentally builds in inspect and adapt loops. Our expectation is that our initial ideas will be imperfect. They'll get us going in the right direction. But then we are going to frequently inspect and see what is it that we've been learning by building this product, and then adapt, right? We're going to change our plans. We're going to change our technology plans, right? We're going to change the architectural decisions we're making and the way we're coding. We're going to change our product level plans. What should be the features? Exactly which market niche are we targeting? So for me, working in an agile way is all about recognizing that change is inevitable and working in a way that anticipates change, embraces change, and fundamentally builds in these inspect and adapt cycles so that change is not so disruptive, right? It's expected.
That's simply fantastic. So being an agile practitioner myself, I have listened to different people talk about agile, but the way you just went about it speaks to everyone, right? So if you're totally new to agile, now you get the picture. And if you're an experienced agilist, like some of us, it sheds new light. It was totally amazing. Thank you for that. So we did talk about change, and we know agile is heavily centered around change. So I guess little wonder a lot of organizations are currently undergoing agile transformation. What's your take on this? Why do you think, or do you think this is a step in the right direction? And why do you think so? What do these organizations stand to gain by transforming?
So I think in a lot of domains, it's essential, right? For some of the reasons I just previously mentioned, right? Our model of working that assumed we could know everything up front and then lay out a big plan and stick to the plan, and in 18 months we'd have what we needed, doesn't serve us. The markets are moving and changing too fast, right? Our knowledge of the technology is changing and evolving too fast. And so I think breaking down the structures in our organizations that are built on the premise of create a plan, stick to the plan is essential if, as an organization, we're going to be able to be more flexible, have true business agility. And it's hard because, I could explain Scrum in 10 minutes, right? Scrum is one of the most common Agile frameworks. And fundamentally, it's very, very simple. It doesn't take long to explain it all. People go, oh yeah, I get it. That makes sense. Doing it is hard. Making the change from how we used to do things to a new way of doing things is very hard. And the more people that are involved in making the change, the harder it gets, right? There's all that inertia. And so I think it's really important, but I do think it's very challenging. And I think one of the reasons it's challenging is that the people that I work with that are in leadership positions, they're the ones who really need to be driving the change, sponsoring the change, championing the change, if it's truly going to be a transformation. And it's extra hard for them because they got to these positions of leadership by being really good at the older ways of working, right? That's how they got there. And it's this conundrum that I run into in my coaching work all the time, that the things that got you here are the very things that might prevent you from taking the next step in your journey. And that can be really scary, right? To let go of or change ways of working, tools, ways of relating to people that have served you really well and got you where you are. But if the business is going to become more flexible, more adaptable, the leaders who have the power to make decisions about policies and procedures and organizational structure and those sorts of things, they really need to be the ones to embrace this kind of more agile mindset.
Yep. I couldn't agree more again, because working in transformations myself, I have seen that leadership is that one thing that makes or breaks. If it's going to be successful, then you know that you have leaders that have thrown their weight behind it. If it's not, then go back and check. It's usually around that. So yeah, I agree with you on that. So we have spoken about Agile and then brought it into the transformation. A lot of people on the call are currently in organizations that are talking about transformations. Some are already in the middle of it. And then there are people who want to get into the space, but really are not sure where they should be going. So this is the part where I want to ask you about Agile roles. So what generally are these Agile roles? And, if you could touch on each of them briefly, just so people understand what each does, that would be amazing.
Yeah. So I'm going to focus on the team level because most of the Agile approaches are team-based. And it turns out that there's a lot of good reasons for that, right? So teams, true teams, have higher levels of collaboration, which means that we're covering each other's blind spots, right? And they are shown to produce higher quality work, more innovative work, and to do it faster. And teams turn out to be a really great building block for larger organizations. The more traditional way of trying to manage big things at the individual level, of routing work to individuals and all of that, doesn't scale real well, and you end up needing like an army of project and program managers that's almost as big as the army of people doing the work. So I'm going to focus on team structure, and I'm going to use Scrum as the model. There are other models out there. Essentially the same roles and accountabilities exist in the other approaches as well. So Scrum has 3 roles, or sometimes called accountabilities. They are product owner, Scrum master, and developer. And so walking through the 3. Product owner is the business leader of the team. This is the person giving the team business direction. This is the person picking which goals the team will pursue, prioritizing the big queue of work that is feeding the team. This is the person who is responsible for making sure that the team fully understands the needs of the stakeholders that they're serving, so that when the team does work, they're building the right product. So in a nutshell, that's the role that Scrum calls product owner. Really the business leader of the team, the person giving the team business and product level guidance to make sure, we're building the right thing, we're building the most valuable thing. The next role I'll touch on, in Scrum, it's called Scrum Master. Other places call it Agile Coach. I kind of like that, quite frankly. And this is a coaching role. This is a person who has deep knowledge of the Agile practices that we're trying to adopt and is skilled at coaching at the individual, team, and organizational level to help support and facilitate the change. Because as I mentioned before, understanding the concepts isn't that hard. Changing behaviors is very hard. And so having somebody whose sole job it is to kind of coach us along our journey from being just a work group, perhaps, of individuals who worked in the old way to, a true self-managing, self-organizing Agile team, that's important. That's important. And I think it's one of the areas where a lot of traditional leaders who are trying to launch or guide a transformation underestimate the importance of having those guides out there in the field with the teams, right? Having these people who really understand the practices and the mindset and helping us transform. It's makes a huge difference. So that's the Scrum Master role or Agile Coach role. And then in the Scrum framework, everybody else on the team, the people who do the hands-on work, is called developers. Causes a little confusion sometimes because people ask me what about the testers? Or what if we're using, Scrum in a domain that's not software development? Developer, as that label is used in the Scrum framework, simply means the people who do the work, regardless of their area of skill or focus. So on a Scrum team, the official framework, label for people who are doing testing or coding or documentation is simply developer. Because the idea is on the team, we are peers. And ultimately, we all have the same job, which is to build the best possible product. And I often say that the product owner is charged with making sure we build the right thing. The developers are charged with making sure we build the thing right. And so those are the folks who do the work. And while Scrum, other Agile practices grew up in the software product development space, these days we're finding that it's an approach that works really well for many kinds of complex work. So if you have work that you're doing that is inherently complex and that requires people with different skills to work together in order to get the desired business outcome, an Agile, a team-based Agile approach such as Scrum, probably a good fit. So those are kind of the 3 key roles down at the team level.
Thank you very much. And yes, there really indeed is a lot of confusion around the term developer. So you have people in traditional roles coming to you and say, so if we undergo Agile transformation, where am I going to fit? What am I going to do? Is my role going to be, let go of, so there's a lot of confusion there. And yeah, if you're one of those on the call, just know that whatever your role is, it's just the term developer, and we're sure your organization has a plan, right, to get you integrated in the system. So before we let you go, Chris, one last question. What will be your advice for people who are trying, or they're thinking about getting into the space. Maybe they want to make a career move, or they're straight out of school, what will be your advice? What should they be doing? What should they be learning? What kind of activities should they be engaging in?
So I think the big ones are learning all you can. And there's all sorts of resources out there, lots and lots and lots of really great free resources out there. So learning all you can is a good step. The next step I would say is get engaged with the Agile community. The Agile community I have found over my career to be this really warm, welcoming, very bright group of people who are really interested in helping each other and helping new people to kind of find their footing and figure things out. So whether that is attending conferences, which could be online or in person, whether it's attending user and meetup groups, get out there and meet people. Because I find that having people that have been where you are and can offer you guidance and support, super important. And then, keep learning anything you can. I guess that would be these are places to start.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So for those trying to start, you are definitely in the right direction by being on this call. You're learning, and then you also get the opportunity to meet people. So thank you very much, Chris. It's been fantastic having you here, and we look forward to inviting you for our future sessions.
Hey, thank you. Really, really an honor to be invited, and happy to be a part of this. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Okay, I'm just gonna stop.